We're live.
Good afternoon, folks. We are so happy that you could join us this evening for our GEG Innovation Challenge with the fabulous Krissy Venosdale. And you may know her as Vinspired and all of the amazing posters and graphics and all kinds of artistic things that she shares with the world. And so Krissy is here today to talk about getting creative, of course, with Google Slides. So I'm really excited to see what she has to share with us today. We have our other moderators on here. We have Central Texas and North Texas popping in. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'm Ann Witherspoon, and I co-lead with Casey for GEG NORTX.
Okay, I'm Brandy King Hurd. I'm a GEG CENTX chapter leader with Christy and Kelly, and I'm an instructional technology specialist in Round Rock ISD.
And I've totally been talking, but my microphone has been muted. I am Krissy Venosdale. I am just an image right now, and I am also a co-GEG leader with Kelly and Brandy, and also an instructional tech specialist. And with that, I'll let Casey take it.
Yeah, I think I forgot to say my name. So, hi, I'm Casey Bell, GEG NorTX with Ann. So I'm going to hand it over to Krissy and let her tell you what she does and let her share her fabulousness with us tonight.
Thank you, Casey, and thank you guys. Excited to be sharing about Google Slides because I think it's an undervalued tool. So hopefully I can share some things tonight that will inspire you to try it out in your classroom in new and fun ways. Right now I'm an innovation coordinator at the Kincaid School in Houston, which means I get to play with robots and tinker with coding and help some fabulous teachers with technology in their classrooms, so it's pretty fun. Every day is an adventure. Some days are harder than others, but I've certainly learned a lot about Google this year since we're a Google Apps for Education school. So that's what I'm excited to share about. I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation here. Let's see. Moved my windows over, I'm sorry. Can you guys see that yet?
Can't see it quite yet.
Okay, I think it's coming. Nothing? Here we go.
No.
Sorry, it just finally came through. It was working in slow motion. It must have some water left over from the flooding.
Yay, okay.
Sorry about that. All right, well, this is my presentation, Getting Creative with Google Slides. And I'm going to skip ahead there. I'm going to show lots of different things that you can use for your classroom as far as, this is our first one. I work with primarily, younger students, but certainly this stuff could be, adjusted to older kids. But I work with pre-K to 4th grade, and so when I was thinking of projects and things I thought Google Slides would work for, I was thinking of things that the kids have actually done and inspired as they've tried things out. So some of them you might say, oh, this might work good with my middle school students, or I think Google Slides is a great thing for the youngest learners in your school to get started with, because they have one page to deal with rather than multiple pages of Google Docs. My first project is poetry. Poetry is something that, a lot of teachers, have poetry units that they do in their classroom. They'll do things with photographs, and they'll do things with oh, sorry guys, my sound's cutting out. I hope you can hear me okay. They'll do things with photographs, and Google Slides offers a great way to share your photographs in a way for the kids to be able to use them as backgrounds, to even edit their photos. I think this is a newer feature on Google Slides. I might be wrong, but I don't remember being able to edit photos within Google Slides, and I'm excited about this. I hope that Google adds more and more opportunities for editing photos within slides. I went ahead and went into slideshow mode so that I could show you some of these things as I'm clicking on the pictures. You have image options up here, and you can show the kids, they can come in and they can change their picture to black and white, or they could adjust the transparency of it, which is a newer one, but they could use that to fade their picture out behind the words. And that offers them more options to edit their own photos and take control of their project rather than just using someone else's artwork. They can use their own drawings or their own photos. This is an example of a poem that I made, and I added some animation to the words, which hasn't always been a feature on slides either. I know in the old PowerPoint slideshows, it probably drove us all crazy when people would one by one add the characters on the screen. So I certainly wasn't trying to go back to that, but they have a few animations that you can add in that could make it fun for the kids when they're creating a poem to make their poem even more powerful. The next one that I put in here was posters. I know in all of our classrooms we have different tools that the kids can use, and to find something that's easy for kids to create a poster in, we've got Print Shop, and there's online tools like PicMonkey. But if you are a Google Apps school and you want your youngest kids to get started with using Google Docs, then it makes so much sense to have them get started with one of the Google Apps to design a poster for whatever project they're working on, or let's say they're having a drive for pet food and they're going to donate it to a local pet shelter. They could create a poster in Google Slides. And the nicest part about it is they can actually save their slide as a PDF or a JPEG for easy printing. And when a student goes to print something, they always have a hard time in the beginning printing it out full page. And the nice thing about slides is it automatically is set up to print out full page, and that makes it a little easier for your younger kids to navigate their first printing and getting printers set up to be the right size. And also being able to download it as a JPEG gives them the option to then put that slide in a movie, maybe an iMovie or another type of video that they're working on collaboratively. It also opens the door to teach kids about what a JPEG is. I know even with our youngest students, second graders, third graders, we are constantly talking about what kind of graphic it is, because it's really important that they know the difference between a JPEG is an image and a doc is a Word doc. Not that they're going to remember all those little file descriptions right away, but just as a way to help them get used to when they're saving a file and they need a file that's going to be a photo in their movie, they'll know what to use. So this is a little simple poster that I put together using Google Slides, and I had a picture that I took and I put the credit down here. Now I'm not trying to credit myself. I just put that as an example that you could talk to the kids about copyright. It definitely opens the door for them to be thinking about who owns these images. If you take your classroom cameras out and your students take pictures of things outside and you create a folder of those and you ask students to give each other credit for the images that they use, that's going to be a real thing to them, as opposed to them just grabbing photos from Google. And the kids always say, oh, the source is Google, and we always have that conversation. Does Google take photos? Does Pinterest take photos? And this allows you to have the kids decide, like, wait a second, this photo belongs to someone in my classroom. I need to give credit to Allison, or I need to give credit to my teacher, or I need to give credit to the teacher next door. And it helps them just kind of get into the habit of, when they're producing this digital content, of giving credit to their friends, to people in their school, and then that allows you to broaden that to outside the school as they start using Google to search for images. It also opens up for students to learn about layering. Layering is a really difficult concept in Photoshop or some of the advanced graphics programs, but in a simple Google slide, layering is very easy for students to understand. And it's called arranging, and I always talk to them about it being in layers. And then they start to understand that, like, this text here, a weed or a wish, needs to go in front so that it shows up, or it needs to go behind so that it's not visible. And then they learn how to put things in order, and it really helps them when they're putting things together to think of it like a hamburger. And I always talk to them about looking at a hamburger from the top down. You only see the top bun, and the bottom bun is in the back. So they start thinking about what they want to show and how to put that in order. And once they, you have that little conversation with them about that skill, that transfers to so many other programs, graphics programs, other word processing programs, and it really expands their skills. And it may not always use the word arrange, but it will be some type of layering or arranging, and they'll say, oh, we did that in Google Slides. So it's a great way to get them started with being creative with graphics and knowing how to manipulate them forward and backward. The next thing is choose your own adventure stories. So I was kind of toying around with having kids write stories in Google Slides, and really kind of fell in love with the idea of kids collaborating on different slides. And I think the coolest part about the slides is that they aren't having those cursor wars, I call them cursor wars, when they first get started in Google Docs and they are flipping back and forth with the cursor. They are able to have their own slide with their own space, and they are not trying to type over each other's words or anything like that. So it's a great way to get them started. I had students writing adventure stories collaboratively. Well, then it kind of turned into this choose your own adventure. When I was a kid, they had the choose your own adventure books, and I absolutely loved those books, and I loved how you could find out what would happen next. And I thought about Google Slides and what a great tool that would be for that, because you can put links to go to other slides. So in this little simple story that I started putting together, the tiny snail sprouted wings, and then you want to find out where he goes next. So the student gets to choose, is he going to go to the magical land of candy, or is he going to go to the dark forest of Lego trees? So when I set up the slideshow, I linked these arrows, and these are just objects from the menu. I linked them to go to the slide for the magical land of candy. If I click there, that's the one it goes to. I'll go back. Or if I want the snail to fly off to the dark forest of Lego trees, I click this one, and something different happens. So kids are able to choose the story, and I'm sure what would happen is kids would start wanting to write different paths for the story. And they could do that. They could come back to that slide, and they could add another option. Maybe the snail flew off to an island in the middle of the ocean, and they want to write about that. So not only could they read the story and enjoy it, they could maybe do illustrations for it, or they could even add to the story and add more endings and variations to it. You could use this to enhance one of the books in your classroom. You could, take a few snapshots of events happening in the story, and then you could, leave it open, like what happens next. And kids could write different endings and collaborate on it just from you sharing it with them. Now, one tip when you're putting this together is to link the arrows. Come back to this. it's really simple to link the arrows because they are they're just basic objects that have a hyperlink on them. So if I click the arrow and I come up here to the link, it comes down here, this little thing that says next slide. Now I've already set that as where I want it to go, but if you haven't set it yet, you'll get a list of options of any of the slides in your presentation, and you can then choose which slide you want it to go to. And you don't have to use the arrows. There's plenty of other shapes in here that you could choose from. Kids could even design their own button. I could have put a little tree for the forest and some sort of candy for the magical land of candy, and then created more illustrations for the slide. But I think it'd be more fun to let the kids do that. Sometimes when we're getting creative, we tend to go too far and we take the chance away from the students. So I always try to remember to kind of hold myself back to let them try something. And then if you see them struggling and they need an idea or they need some inspiration, you can help them with that then. So the next idea I had was using it as a portfolio. And I didn't have a sample student work, so I just used my my dog's photo and I made a little portfolio for her to show you as a sample. But I started really thinking about this as a tool for portfolios because I thought it gives kids an easy way to have a record of something, like a page for each project that they do. And they could write a reflection on the page. They could put a little picture. This is my dog. She's terrified of our cat. So I kind of pretended that she would write a blog post about being scared. I get frightened when the cat stares at me, and she might tell people that this was her favorite blog post. Our youngest learners are producing all this digital content. We've got students using KidBlog and creating iMovies, and they end up with tons of stuff in Google Drive. They end up with stuff on different websites, and it becomes kind of cumbersome to figure out how to organize all that. And maybe we could allow the students to organize it themselves using Google Slides, because that'd be a tool that they're familiar with. They can put a hyperlink that will go to the spot on the web where their project is located. They could do a little reflection, and they could simply add pages to it. And what a great tool to get out at parent conferences and let students show their work. I initially had put on the portfolio Lucy's best work, and then I started thinking about it, and I was like, I don't know that I'd want the portfolio to only be the best work, because sometimes your best work isn't what shows the most learning, and sometimes you might want them to show prototypes or other things that they've done that they've found a better way, and they could write a reflection about that too. I used a couple of my daughter's pictures to do some backgrounds for slides. I'll have to add her name in here. She is 12, and she will get me about the copyright because she lives with me, and I love to talk about teaching kids about copyright. So I've kind of turned her into a little bit of the copyright police unintentionally, but she does know it, so it's good. But their artwork makes great backgrounds for their slides or creating stories. This could be an entry in the portfolio. She could write another page about this artwork that she made. This is a chalk drawing that she did. And normally, when kids create artwork in the art room, they take it home, or they hang it in the hallway and then they take it home. But start thinking about using that artwork to be a background for a slide. And maybe it's not even for her slide. Maybe she's going to take a picture of it and put her name on it and put it in the shared drive in the classroom and let other kids choose backgrounds. So rather than going to the list of like 10 standard, slide backgrounds that Google has, students have a bigger list of content that's been created from their own classroom. And again, that's teaching them about sharing and about copyright and all of those things. to kind of make sure that they're getting that experience of sharing content, being part of a global audience. And how cool would that be then to partner up with another classroom in another state or in another country and share some artwork with each other? And as long as it has the students' names on it, sharing that work and using their stuff as your background, and then talking to them on a Skype call about your presentation that you made, and just really opening the kids' eyes to the fact that we're all learners and we're sharing. And that's one of the great things about using Google Apps is you're able to open the classroom door up to the world in a way that we just couldn't before. And Slides just makes it an easy way to do that. This other picture I took a little picture of because I thought, you could crop this in different places and, actually tell a story. There's an activity that I love to do with a cell phone or an iPad, and it's called the 6-photo story, where you have to tell a story in only 6 photos. That type of activity would lend itself perfectly to Google Slides. If you told a student that they had to tell a story in 6 photos, they couldn't use any words, they could only use pictures, photographs. Either they have to build the setting and take the pictures themselves, or maybe they draw the pictures themselves. It really forces them to think and break a story down. Maybe you'd start with a 3-photo story for younger kids. Or maybe you'd put them in a group and say, why don't you each do part of the story, one of you do the beginning, one of you do the middle, and one of you do the end, and together create a story in Google Slides without using words. That could be a pretty powerful project for helping them come together and do some collaboration for the first time in Slides. I had to mention the maker movement just because it's something that I'm, I don't want to say obsessed with, but I kind of am obsessed with it right now. I love the idea that we're kind of getting to this place in schools where we're coming back to the authentic hands-on learning that learning really is about. And I was thinking, and I'm constantly thinking about, the digital aspect of like Google Slides and Google Docs and how valuable the digital aspect is for sharing out. But I also really value paper and pencil and handwriting, and I love the feeling of Sharpie on paper. It's kind of finding that balance between having kids use materials and hands-on materials, and then having kids use digital tools and the mix of that. And I thought, wow, Slides could be a powerful way to digitize their notes just by taking a photo of them. If you have an iTouch or an iPad, with iTouch or the iPhone and the Mac Air, you can AirDrop now, so it makes it so easy. Or if you have a camera in your classroom and you have a little memory card, they can stick it in the side of a Chromebook and easily put their notes on. And you can teach the kids to do that. Even the youngest kids can drag and drop those photos onto their slide and create it. And they could take pictures of their notes, and that way they could share those notes with their parents or share them with kids in other classrooms if they wanted to. Imagine how powerful it would be if your students were coming up with a design for a catapult, and maybe you had them in groups of 4 working on these catapult designs, and they spent time working with their group and uploading their prototype ideas that they had sketched out. And at the end of the week, they share them with students that are working on the same project in another state or in another, even another country. Maybe they don't speak the same language, but they could look at their prototypes and see what each other had designed. And it's pretty cool to think about kids sharing their notes in a way where it's very personal. There's something very personal about handwriting. It's not just clip art that you copied and pasted from a website, but it's something that you drew and you created by hand, and it makes those connections of knowing each other even stronger. And then I had a little category called etc. because I thought of a couple things that I was like, I want to include these, but I'm just not sure. I'm not sure what I should call this category. So one of them that I was thinking of was your classroom planner. This is something that all teachers, you know, in their classrooms, a lot of schools have planners, and they struggle with, you know, how to get the planner on the website or have kids help with that. And I thought, why not just photograph your planner page, and every day you can have a student put the notes in the planner, and you could have that on your website, and it would automatically be updated. Nothing to upload, nothing to add. It's automatically there. The other thing was a timer. This is a little simple timer video that I got from YouTube, and it looks like I need to arrange this behind. It came out in front. These timer videos are all over YouTube. This is a 10-minute one, but it's very cool to have these timer videos if you're doing an activity with students where they're going to have 10 minutes to brainstorm, or it's 10 minutes till your class has to go somewhere and you want them to have a visual for the timer. You can put these up, and the reason I put them on a slide is you could organize them in your slides based on minutes, or if you have a project that you're doing, you could set it up and organize it based on what part of the project is how much time you need for those different things. So that was my last one there, and I see I only have like 2 minutes left. I'm going to stop this. I'll be sure to share the link out. Does anybody have any questions?
That was awesome, Krissy. I love your TV little template.
Oh, thank you.
It's adorable.
I loved it. I got some great ideas out of that, and I love using it for the portfolio idea as well. I didn't see any questions. Did anybody else catch any questions on the page?
I've seen a lot of people tweeting out the ideas. You know, it's funny, I've used it because of the whole text box thing on Google Docs. I have a lot of my teachers just use Google Slides to make it like a page. But I never, even though I've been doing that, it never occurred to me to say, oh, I could use that for posters too. So it was one of those duh moments, but now I'm going to share that.
Yeah, I think I was just so thinking of it as a presentation tool for so long that I started realizing, wait a second, like I guess I was inspired by the kids because they don't hold back when they use tools for different things. I'm the one who places these imaginary categories on things, and I'm like, there really isn't one, you know, making a poster with it, or and I found that the younger kids are really good. They're really good with moving around in a Google slide as opposed to moving around on multiple Google Docs.
Yes.
It gets really cumbersome really fast for a first grader to be trying to find page 4 on a Google Doc.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen a lot more issues on Google Docs than I have on Google Slides. I've watched, you know, first and second graders have like 20 kids at once in a Google Slide and be, for the most part, okay. They'll tell on each other if somebody's on somebody else's slide. But
and there's that great moment when they're like, we're all working on the same presentation, or we're all working on the same thing, and they think it's so awesome, and it's so neat when they realize, because even if you tell them that they are, it's like it doesn't really occur to them until they actually see their friend's photo at the top of the screen, and they're like, wait a second, we're all in the same one.
Do you ladies have anything else to say? I'll grab the link of this to share out to people.
Oh, that would be good. Yeah. That was really good. I loved the idea of the class planner for posting that, because that would just keep it updated on a daily basis.
Yeah, and you can turn that over to the students
right,
to have them do the updates on it, and that way you have a record and can look back through it. And I just am amazed at when it's so easy just to put that link on your website and add to it. I'm really thinking more and more about it as a portfolio tool because of that too. You would just have an ongoing portfolio the kids could add to.
And I have actually done the portfolio take on that with some elementary students last year, and it worked really well, and they just continued to add documents to it. And so by the end of the year, they had an accumulation of quite a bit of work. And it is, especially with the younger ones, a very easy tool for them to use.
I agree to that. As they get older, they could add that, because in the high school we do Google Sites, but the little ones, as they get older and move through the grade levels, they can just add that one e-portfolio of a Google slide to that Google site and kind of show the progression that they've made. I think it's an awesome idea. I love it.
Yeah, that's great, because then they'd have it collected already, and it wouldn't be a lost item. It'd be in their Google Drive, and they could just keep it and add it to whatever portfolio they ended up creating when they were older.
Exactly. Yes, I love that idea.
Did you see where Sharon McMichael had asked if Google Slides was your favorite GAFE app?
That's a good question. Every student I've ever taught has always said that I say everything is my favorite. They would always call me out on that. They're like, "You always say it's your favorite." But I think it is because of the age of students that I work with. It's the one that is the most versatile, I feel like, out of all of them. We've tried Google Drawing, and I've tried them all with the students, and I keep coming back to slides as a way for them to kind of have a jumping point into bigger projects.
Also, someone wanted to know, Monica wanted to know, if you've used slides to make comics with a class.
Oh, I haven't, but that is a great idea. I could see where that would work really well, because they could type their text in,
yes,
and they could draw their own. That's a great idea.
We had to wind up using it because all of the really good comic sites we were blocked from at the beginning of the school year. And so it was like, get them in Google Slides and just have them do it there. But
yeah, there's so many things that are blocked in so many schools that I think that's one of the things I like about using the Google app so much, is because if you can find the flexibility in what you need in those apps, you don't have to worry about that getting to school and having your tool blocked and your entire project is shot. Yeah. I think we've all had that happen. The nightmare of that.
And then, do you use Chromebooks with first graders?
Our school is a Mac school, so we use MacBook Airs. It's really similar though. And last year was the first year I got to experience them getting their laptop off the cart and opening them up, and they absolutely are awesome at it. And you know, it took more time for them to learn things like, you know, how to get things started and how to navigate Google Chrome on the internet. But they got it. And so I think that don't think about holding the kids back, because they will surprise you. You just have to take it slow and give them the support of modeling instruction over and over again.
I think that's about all the questions.
Well, I loved it. Thank you.
Yes, it was good.
Thank you, guys. That was a lot of fun.
I'll be posting out the link to the video, too, for those who missed it, and if you guys can just share that out so everybody can see it.
Yes, I want to share that presentation with a lot of our ITSs on the elementary level. So thank you, Krissy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great job, Krissy.
Thank you.
Thanks,
awesome.
guys.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Have a good night.
All right. Good night.
Good night, everybody.